How did Shiva enter your life?
Look, from a young age, I essentially come from a Shaivite family. My grandfather was a Pandit in Kashi. So he was a Pandit at Vishwanath Ji, and he used to teach at Banaras Hindu University, taught maths and physics. So our family was, well, very focused on education. सरस्वती माँ की बहुत कृपा थी. But as I always joke, लक्ष्मी माँ बहुत दूर रहती थी हमारे परिवार से. So that was the atmosphere that we grew up in, and we were a Shaivite family. We are a Shaivite family. So obviously, Lord Shiva was he was central to our way of life. But we, of course, like a very typical Indian, typical Hindu family, we respected all gods and goddesses. So my grandfather, he was a Pandit, but he really admired, worshipped, learned from Lord Ram as well. Uh, and my late father, Nirgun Nirakar, my mother, she was a Shakta, a goddess worshipper. She is a Shakta. So our family, we have all traditions, but primarily we are a Shaivite family. Uh, so it's just I just grew up with Lord Shiva, all information, all devotion on him. I did turn into an atheist in my younger years for a few years in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When was this?
So maybe first, second year junior college, 11, 12 standard. So was it?
And why is that so?
Various reasons. Part of it, perhaps, youthful rebellion. Part of it also, this was the early 90s. There was a lot of chaos happening in India. You remember at that time. And some of us, my friends and I, our reaction to it was that maybe religion is the cause of the problem. And my father, who in my family, everyone is deeply devout. So my parents weren't happy about it, but they're a religious and a liberal family, which in traditional India is not a contradiction. The more religious you are, the more liberal you will be. So my father did try to talk to me about it. And he said that you have to read our original scriptures, and you will realize that actually um, our original scriptures, at least the scriptures, of the Hindu, Buddhist, Jain faith, which we have read and studied, they don't preach hatred towards other religions. And he said at times like this, those of us who are knowledgeable about our scriptures have an even greater duty that we should speak loudly about these things rather than let ignorance cause chaos. So he said rather than being an atheist, be even more devout, read the scriptures and speak about it, add to positivity. But I was too young, I was, too stupid. There's always a time when a man grows up enough and he realizes every man. My father was a very smart man. But when you're young, you don't really realize it. You're like, no, 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 what do you know? I have the energy of youth, and you know how the youth are. So, yeah, it was perhaps youthful rebellion. I slowly came back to faith with the process of writing my first book, Immortals of Melua. So I already knew all the knowledge already. So it wasn't a discovery of faith.
Is that you reimagined Shiva as a human, not a god. And I'm talking about this massive book of yours. What was your thought process behind portraying him that way? What were you thinking?
Poonam, the way divinity is approached in the Indian way, and it is very complex, but I can reduce it to 4 ways.
Sure.
So the first way that we can approach the divine is the Nirgun Nirakar concept. Okay, where no form, no attributes, beyond gender, it's almost like pure energy, but beyond that too. Sometimes this divine form is called Brahman. As Shaivites, we call the divine form Shiv. Vaishnavas may call this Nirgun Nirakar form as Vishnu. But this first form is very difficult to understand for most ordinary people, even for those who've studied a lot, because There's no form, there is no attributes, there is no likes, dislikes. It's beyond everything. It's just that divinity makes everything else possible. Uh, that's a first way of approaching the divine. But like I said, it's very complicated. The second way of approaching the divine is akar, that God has taken a form so that you can't even actually use the term he, so that the divine can come closer to you. Right. Now, this is how we see Lord Shiva in his, the form that we are used to, with the serpent, with the trishul, with the tambru, or Lord Vishnu, how we see him with the conch, with the lotus, etc., or Lord Brahma, or Mata, in her form. So this is the
Shakti.
yeah, is the second form of approaching the divine. The third form of approaching the divine is it's called either avatar or ansh. Avatar is when Lord Vishnu takes a form, a living form. Could be human, could be non-human as well. The Matsya avatar was a fish. Right? That's a third way. Or Lord Shiva doesn't take an avatar. Lord Shiva in ansh comes up. Right? So Hanumanji is an ansh of Lord Shiva, for example. Jalandharji was an ansh of Lord Shiva. And Hanumanji is Chiranjeevi, so he's still here, but he's an ansh of Lord Shiva. That's a third approach. The fourth approach is that the human being or any living being, we are itself divine. We carry Shivatva within us. Okay. And the difference between the gods and us is that they have discovered the divine within. We are yet to discover the divine within. Okay. That's what Namaste actually means. I bow to the divine within you. It doesn't mean hello. It actually means I bow to the divine within you. I find this fourth approach to the divine very inspiring because it means that we are the answer to what we've been looking for. Right? It's in some ways very inspiring. It's in some ways very scary. There's no one to there's no one who will come and help you. You have to help yourself, right? You have to discover the divine within. Now, I find this concept very inspiring. And how about if we approach the stories of our gods from this perspective? That one of the ways from this perspective, the way we approach our gods is that they are role models from whom we can learn how to discover the divine. I find this approach very inspiring, which is why my stories usually come out in this format. Now, I'd love to say I'm the first guy to come up with it because it makes me sound very cool, but that's not true. There are many stories like this. So, and not just in the modern day. S.L. Bhairappa Ji, for example, brilliant Kannada writer, in my mind, among the best living writers in India today. He's right up there. I mean, in my mind, perhaps the rishis among writers living. So he wrote Parva, which was from this perspective. But even if you go to ancient times, there's a great Sanskrit playwright called Asa, who also wrote his plays from this perspective, that the divine figures were, and this was 2,500 years ago, that the divine figures are actual human beings. And the difference between them and us is that they have discovered the divine within and we have not.
It's imposter syndrome.
It's more than imposter. It is like I deserve more than what I got. It's always there in the back of the constantly. That yes, I got a promotion. Why didn't I get it earlier? Yes, I may have been the youngest senior management committee member, but I should have got it 4 years back. Yes, I've got a cabin now. Why isn't my cabin bigger? Yes, I've got a bonus. Why didn't I get a higher? No matter what you got, you're always unhappy. But that is the source of competitiveness as well, right? Because at least so we think. The modern world tells us if you're happy, then you're not competitive anymore. It's unhappiness which drives your competitiveness. That is
right. Very important point you say.
That is where Lord Shiva changed me completely. He did. He didn't change my world. He did a bigger miracle. He changed me. There's a 180-degree turn in my character. I'm still very competitive. I don't shout and scream. I don't have buttons that people can easily press. I don't have insecurities. If someone says something insulting to me, my earlier character was such, I would have probably responded, I would have fought. Now, if someone says something insulting like, "Tu पूछ ले, I don't want to waste my time arguing with you." You know, the interesting thing, Poonam, I realized is that I am even more competitive and successful now because I'm not wasting energies on insecurities and silly things. And maybe that's what Lord Krishna was trying to tell us when he said, karmani vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, that don't be attached to the results. Just focus on the work. What it does, it calms your mind down. And then, because you only have so much energy, right?
Yeah.
And if you have competitive energy, you can either focus it all on your work and therefore you'll be more successful, or those competitive energies get wasted in pointless things. Why is my cabin not bigger? How dare that person tell me you could have done a better job? Who are you? These are wasted, opportunities for your energy. Don't waste time on all that. But you can only do that when your mind is calm, right? When your competitiveness doesn't come from a place of insecurity. When your competitiveness comes from a place of gratefulness that I've got this talent, I have to do justice to it and I have to work hard. It comes from enjoying what you do so much that you just naturally just keep working at it.
So how do you personally connect with, I'll bring back to Shiva, through faith, philosophy, or the ways we worship him?
So, Poonam, our ancestors did analyze and systematize this. Again, I'm simplifying, right? It's actually a lot more complex. I'm simplifying it. But yoga today is often understood as just exercising, yoga. But it's much more than that. The root of the word yoga is actually the Sanskrit dhatu yug, which means to unite with the divine. Okay, to come together. So, yoga is essentially about how you rise to the divine. Okay, and there are various paths for the divine. There are 4 paths, but the 4 paths are essentially built on a foundation. What is the foundation? Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is actually the asanas, the pranayam exercises that we do, that everyone thinks is yoga. Okay, that's actually the first step. Okay, that's a foundation. Why is that important? Because if you don't have a healthy body, you can't go towards the divine because you're trying to stay alive, you're trying to manage your basic issues. So the first step, make a healthy body. Okay, that's what Hatha yoga is supposed to be. But you don't end there. Normally, we just end here, right? In the modern day. The next step can be taken through 4 paths. First is Bhakti Yoga, second is Karma Yoga, third is Gyan Yoga, and the fourth is the path of the mysteries like Tantra, etc. That I would strongly advise that's for the adepts, it's for very few people. For us ordinary people, it's not a path. If you're not ready for it, it can be a path to insanity, can be a path to various things. So, all those, the path of the mysteries, leave that for the people.
I'll tell you something because I've been doing a little bit of spiritual podcast. I have my friends from the corporate world coming and telling me, Poonam, Kundalini ke upar karo, Kundalini. Sit. You know what? We haven't reached that stage to even talk about it.
Kundalini can be activated, but you don't have to do Tantra for it, right? Yeah. You can, but like I said, that's not for us ordinary people, right? For us ordinary people, there are 3 paths: Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Karma Yoga. Okay? So, I'll start from the last. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is a path of action. Okay, path of doing activities. Bhagavad Gita actually expounds Karma Yoga beautifully, right? That is one way to the divine. The second path is Bhakti Yoga, right? The path of devotion, path of love. And the first path, in reverse order, is Gyan Yoga, path of knowledge. Keep reading, keep learning, keep listening to a guru, and raise your knowledge so that you become divine. I'm a lover of Gyan Yoga. You can pick whatever path works for you.
Hmm.
That is the way to approach this. First, make your body healthy, then pick one of the paths that works for you, depending on your pravruti, your innate attributes.
Correct. I was asking everyone around that I would be sitting with you, and there is too much of excitement. But one question that resonated with most, and I'm trying to just club it up for you to help us with, is that why is Shiva called Mahadev, the god of gods? Like, what is so special?
Let me answer the, and because I don't mean to insult or belittle any other god or goddess, right? I mean, I respect all gods and goddesses. But it is believed, like one of the stories is the Jyotirlinga, the original pillar of light, which Lord Shiva manifested in. And then Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma tried to find two ends of it, and they couldn't find the either end because Lord Shiva, and the story carries on, but I can just end it here because Lord Shiva is Anant and Anadi. There is no end, there is no beginning, and that's why he's called the Mahadev, the god of gods. But having said that, I respect the right of anyone else to see their uh, divine as the original. It doesn't matter; they are different names to the same principle. The Vishnu Sahasranam, which is the 1,000 names of Vishnu. One of the names listed in there is Shiva, and the 1,008 names of Lord Shiva, which is there in the Shiv Puran, Linga Puran, etc. One of the 1,008 names of Shiva is Vishnu. So they are one and the same. It is. I'm a Shaivite, so obviously for me he is the Mother.
So, what is the deepest spiritual lesson behind this symbolism from your lens?
There is an interpretation that is there in Tantra with the Gauris who are also Shiv Bhaks, Shaivites. I won't go into that. And those are some of the things I'm aware of, but those are things that you should discover by yourself. But one of the things that one can say is that for us Shaivites, everything in the universe, everything in the world has been created by Lord Shiva. So how can anything be impure? Because it has the imprint of Lord Shiva in it. Right? So everything is wonderful because everything is Lord Shiva. Right? So, and secondly, we don't see death as something scary. Right? Often, at times, and Lord Shiva can be called the destroyer of evil, but that's a different concept from saying he's the god of destruction. He's not really the god of destruction. He's actually the god of transformation. Think about it this way. Nothing really dies in the universe. You just change form. You can't escape the universe, right? So, for example, you right now, right? Poonam at this point of time is essentially a temporary combination of three forces. Right? One is your soul. Second is your body, which is a bunch of chemicals and water in the right proportion. And the third is your genetics, which is essentially your ancestors living within you, right? It's a temporary combination of these three forces. When you die, your soul will either get moksha or go into another body, so the soul is alive, right? Your body will be cremated, and Mother Nature will use those chemicals and water as Mother Nature deems fit, as Mahaprakriti deems fit, and your genes will carry on through your children. Your ancestors will continue through that. So all three are carrying on. So in one way, you've not actually died; you just transformed, right? Like even your ancestors haven't really died; they are living within you and your siblings, right? So from this perspective, Lord Shiva is not really the god of destruction. He is actually the god of transformation. Because what is destruction for me in my temporary form is the creation of me in another form. Right? So then what's there to be afraid of in a cremation ground? Right? There's nothing to be afraid of. It's a place of transformation. Having said that, anyone who goes to a cremation ground, you must go with respect. there are people who go with a morbid fascination. They want to take pictures. I find that sometimes Westerners or Westernized people, they come and take pictures and then share it on their Instagram, like it's, like it's some bizarre ritual. That is disrespectful. You can go out there, but behave with respect, right? Because if it's a place of transformation, there's something spiritual taking place out there. So treat it with respect. I mean, there are times when people do photograph out there. You can go to Manikarnika Ghat, but ask the local, may I do it? Right? It's behave with respect when you go out there. If it's expected that you take off your shoes when you go out there, take off your shoes and go out. Go in with respect. Don't go in like a tourist. Okay? It's not a tourism place.
You would see the same man, and I'm using the word man right now because I'm talking about him, Shiva, meditating. तो meditation भी करते हैं. He's the guy who's responsible for destruction also and transformation, as you said. Third eye is doing that job. The other lens is one of the best husbands who actually cried like a baby. Isn't it fascinating?
I think
what is the lesson here for humanity?
Shiva, in many ways, is the god of contradiction. He is a god of the masses, but the elites also love him because he is the lord of dance. He's a lord of music, right? He is Shivji ki barat mein koi bhi aa jata hai. Goes, anyone, correct? But he's also the originator of the Vedas. He's the Adi Yogi. So there are many contradictions if you think about it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes him so attractive, because a complete god, a complete man, is one who can see all sides, right? I think, at least my perception of Lord Shiva, he's a god who enjoys solitude. There's a difference between solitude and loneliness, right? Loneliness is when you don't actually want to be alone, but there's no one around you, so you're alone. Solitude is actually you enjoy your own company and you want to meditate and you want to, right? So in some ways, he is, in a way, a reluctant husband. He actually wanted to just meditate and be with himself and create knowledge, to create, when things are beyond anyone's management, he'll come and help. Like he drank the poison, right, at Sagar Manthan. So in some ways, he's a reluctant husband. And that's a thing to realize, that someone, a god who enjoys his solitude and meditation so much, it has to be a very, very special feminine who can pull him out of that, right? And actually want to be a husband, right? And that's a beauty that we see, we Shaivite see, between Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. He doesn't just love Goddess Parvati because it's the duty of the masculine. He loves her because she's such a special feminine, right? So in a marriage, often, for example, if someone, woman had joked with me once, how do I get a husband like Lord Shiva? I said, well, you have to be like Goddess Parvati then, right? You'll get a husband like Lord Shiva who will be obsessed by you, right? And that's what makes their marriage so special, because they are strong for who they are. It's not like in the modern Western things. I find the feminist and the transgender conversations at times a little disturbing. That to fight for transgender rights, you have to hate women. To fight for feminist rights, you have to hate men. Like, why? The way the gender conversations also happen, it's almost like, women have to become more and more masculine. Men have to become more and more feminine. And there's just so much, frankly, confusion.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you see Lord Shiva, Goddess Parvati, you don't see someone more feminine than Goddess Parvati. But she's a very powerful feminine. You don't get someone more masculine than Lord Shiva. He's as masculine as he can be. He's not metrosexual, okay, by any stretch of the imagination. But he respects his his feminine, his wife so much. I think that's a role model worth following, rather than the very confused model that is coming from the West, which I think is causing so much chaos in modern relationships. Yeah, that's what I